Hello, everyone, and welcome to another version of How to Write Stuff Better. I'm JoAnn Fastoff, your host, and today we're going to talk about query letters and treatments. Now, the purpose of a treatment. Similar to a short story, treatments are written to become a screenplay eventually. Told in the present tense, it describes events as they are happening. And the treatment can be created by adapting a novel, a play, or any other pre-existing works into a screenplay. The treatment is a short story in the present tense written to become a screenplay with the goal that it would become a film. Now, controversy surrounds the length of treatment. Some say up to 60 pages, and some say way less. Well, the point of the treatment is to communicate your story as quickly as possible. So length without sacrificing the juicy parts is the key here. Remember, the goal is to see your treatment made into a screenplay, which will eventually be made into a film. Now, a treatment can jumpstart your writing career because it allows you to communicate a screenplay idea in a brief but compelling way. It can also be a powerful creative tool. Remember that a screenplay, unlike a novel, is not a complete form, but it's one of the steps to making a film. And there are 3 ways that producers ask to submit a treatment. The first way is a 1-page pitch. How can you do it on 1 page? You can, okay? The second way is a 2 to 5 page document that tells the whole story, focusing on the highlights. Okay, so you read this 2 to 5 page document like a short story, and you must remember, it's written in the present tense. It should present the entire story, including the ending. And remember that you need to use some key scenes and dialogue from the screenplay that it's based on. Another way is a lengthy document with a script's scene-by-scene breakdown. And some in the industry consider this an outline and a waste of time because if you're writing a 2 to 5 page document that tells the whole story, focusing on the highlights, you don't need a scene-by-scene breakdown. What should be in the treatment? Number 1. A working title. And titles are hard to come up with because you can write whatever your title will be, and if somebody buys your script, they will likely change the name. So don't take it personally. Whether creating a new story or writing a treatment based on an existing script, the first step is ensuring your screenplay has a good title. For example, Jean Shepherd wrote a book and then the screenplay based on the book called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. When the screenplay was bought, the title became A Christmas Story. Another example, the screenplay was initially called 3,000, and it was about the amount paid for a week's worth of personal company. But when it became a film, the title was changed to Pretty Woman. Another example, the book was initially written as Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but when Hollywood bought the treatment, it became, of course, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. When you submit the treatment, you need your name, contact number, and WGA registration number. That's the Writers Guild of America number. Now, the Writers Guild of America is 2 labor unions. One is on the West Coast in LA, and the other is on the East Coast in New York City. And these unions represent TV and film writers as well as employees of television and radio. The next thing you need is a short log line. And you have to be creative when you do a log line because it's a technique for boiling down the plot line to its core. Like whenever you read what you think is a synopsis of a film or a television show, like for instance, in a TV guide, those are log lines, and it's usually in 1 sentence. It's the description of the basic idea of your script. So how many words in a log line? Usually 25 words or less. But sometimes it's simply impossible to boil down your idea of what you want to show people in 25 words or less. because the first draft of a log line can be 40 to 50 words. But remember, it's the first draft. Now, here are a few examples of some log lines in movies. Remember the spaghetti westerns? A Few Dollars More? A man with no name and a man with a mission hunt a Mexican bandit for different reasons. 18 words. A tough principal takes revolutionary measures to clean up a notoriously dangerous inner-city New Jersey high school. 18 words. That was Lean on Me. The Godfather. The aging patriarch of an organized crime dynasty transfers control of his clandestine empire to his reluctant son. 18 words. Down to a science, right? However, The Help. An aspiring author during the civil rights movement of the 1960s decides to write a book detailing the African-American maid's point of view on the white families for which they work and the hardships they go through. 42 words. You can't get it down less than that. Taxi Driver. A mentally unstable Vietnam War veteran works as a nighttime taxi driver in New York City, where the perceived decadence and sleaze feeds his urge for violent action while attempting to save a pre-adolescent prostitute in the process. 38 words. See, sometimes you can't get it down to 25 words, but see, those are log lines. Another thing in the treatment is an introduction to your key characters. Putting in the who, why, how, what, and where would be best. And these are all the things that are going to go into the treatment. Act 1 should be 1 to 3 paragraphs. And this is where you set the scene and you dramatize the main conflicts. Act 2 should be 2 to 6 paragraphs, dramatizing how the conflicts introduced in Act 1 lead to a crisis. So if you remember the W process in writing, W. The problem is the top. You go down, you recognize the problem. You go up, you deepen the crisis. Act 3 is 1 to 3 paragraphs, and this dramatizes the final conflict and resolution. Now we're talking about the W theory. Recognize the problem, deepen the problem, final conflict resolution. Now, a synopsis is a brief description of all the events in your screenplay. But we first begin by expanding the log line into a 3-chapter story. Here's a log line. A young FBI cadet must confide in an incarcerated and manipulative killer to receive his help in catching a serial killer who skins his victims. Yes, Thomas Harris's The Silence of the Lambs. Now, when creating a synopsis, you need to start at the end. Huh? Did she just say that? Yes, I did. Act 3. Clarice Starling catches the killer and saves the senator's daughter. Yeah, how do we work that? Act 1. While still a student in the FBI Academy, Clarice is asked to help on a case. She interviews Dr. Hannibal Lecter, who provides her with clues, but he only provides those once she tells him her backstory. That's how Dr. Lecter's brain works. That's how he becomes manipulative. Act 2, with Dr. Lecter's help, Clarice can overcome many obstacles and finds the killer's identity. Back to Act 3. Clarice confronts the killer, saves the senator's daughter, and atones for the lamb's death. And after following this breakdown, you can expand this into a synopsis. So start with Act 3, then go to Act 1, Act 2, come back to Act 3. Okay? Now, what is a step outline or a beat sheet? Same thing. A detailed telling of a story to turn that story into a screenplay for film. Now, the beat sheet or step outline briefly details each screenplay scene, often numbered for convenience. The National Writers Union is the trade union in the United States for freelance and contract writers. So we're talking journalists, book authors, business and technical writers, poets, and web contact providers. The Writers Guild of America is a labor union for television, film, and radio writers. Okay? I hope you learned something on that. Okay, but what do you remember? Okay. A treatment describes what told in the present tense. The first step is to make sure that your screenplay has what? How many words in a log line? A typical log line? A synopsis is a brief description of what? What is another word for a step outline? Well, I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, you can always download my free booklet, How to Write Stuff Better, on JoAnnFastTalk.com, and therefore you'll know all the answers, all right? So I hope to see you next week when we talk about choosing a great book cover. Until then, have a great week.